comments. Melanie, do I need to give you a few minutes to be able to share the timer screen, or are we ready to go?
Ready to go.
Thank you. I'll note that the public may directly, whoa, hang on a second. I've got to exit full screen here. Public may directly address the Board of Harbor Commissioners for 2 minutes on any item of public interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Mateo County Harbor District. If a member of the public wishes to address the board, I will call on that person at the appropriate time. Let me see if I see some hands up. Crystalline, Half Moon Bay Coastside something.
Hi, it's Crystalline from the Chamber of Commerce.
And
I just wanted to say thank you. We are getting ready to put out our next resident and visitors guide, and we've been able to partner with the harbor and work with your wonderful Lizzie on a boating and marine safety tips for us to put in our guide for our visitors and our locals alike. And I just wanted to let you know that that's just been a wonderful process to work with Lizzie and the group at the district office, and I really appreciate you guys partnering with us on that information. Thank you
so much. Thanks for checking in about that. Commissioner Brennan, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I'd like to pull items 1 and 4 off consent.
We're not at the consent calendar yet. We're just at public comment.
Just letting you know. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand. I don't see any raised, so I'm going to move on. Are there any committee updates? I don't think so. So before we move to the consent calendar, the rules we've established for our Zoom meetings will continue this evening. Commissioners and members of the public will be on mute until they are asked to speak. If you have questions about unmuting stuff, can you ask them now? Lizzie is available to answer questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question about muting or unmuting or any other technical issues on the Zoom platform. Commissioner Matoush, you are muted.
I do not have a hand raise function at the bottom of my screen.
Lizzie, are you able to help with that?
Yes, Commissioner Matoush, you may need to either exit full screen or enter full screen. There should be, do you see the mute and stop video? Do you see any icons there at the bottom of the screen that indicate the Zoom, that there are controls for Zoom?
I have mute, stop video, participants chat, share screen, record, and reactions, and leave.
Gotcha. So you'll want to click on the participants icon, I believe, and there should be a raise hand icon should pop up right there when you do that. Does that happen?
No, it's got my name, me
Okay.
in parentheses, a speaker, and a camera.
You may need to, is there an up arrow next to the participants icon?
Oh, I see raise hand now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that. All right.
Found it finally.
And if anybody gets stuck, you can always just do this too. Commissioner Brennan, you have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest what other agencies do, which is allow the public and the board to communicate with Lizzie via chat. So if they have technical difficulties, they can communicate to her directly without disrupting the meeting.
Lizzie, is that something that's easy to facilitate?
Yes, I can enable the participants to be able to chat with me directly. Give me just one moment to enable that.
Just with you?
That is correct. Okay, that setting is enabled. So if anyone does have that technical difficulty, they can simply go to the Zoom controls at the bottom of the screen and find the chat icon. And I see some chats are already coming in. You can click on that and the chat box should pop up to the right and you'll be able to type in your message. And then if you press enter on your keyboard, it should send the message directly to me.
Thank you, Lizzie. And Commissioner Brennan, are you participating tonight without any video feed?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Are you participating without a video feed this evening?
Is that relevant to our meeting here?
Yeah, of course. It's difficult for me to keep track of the commissioners if I can't see them.
On my screen, my name, full name, first and last, is published across my screen. Do you not see that?
I don't see it. You only show up as a participant on my sidebar.
Well, my full name is published on my screen, so I don't know what to tell you about that.
Commissioner Lorenis, do you have a question?
I'm waiting for the consent agenda so I can ask to have an item pulled.
My, we're in a hurry tonight to pull consent items. All right, time limit for commissioner comments are 2 minutes. When you wish to make a comment, now that everybody's got their hand raise function working, please ask the chair for recognition to speak by raising your hand on the Zoom platform. These rules treat everyone equally and fairly. Each commissioner has an opportunity to ask questions and make comments on the agenda item that is being considered. Accordingly, these rules do not infringe on anyone's right to speak or ability to take action on the important matters before us. Before we start tonight, at our last meeting, Commissioner Lorenis made a remark that could have been construed to mean that the district was doing something inappropriate by conducting claims review in closed session. To set the record straight, I'd like to ask our General Counsel, Tricia Ortiz, to speak briefly on the matter of claims versus litigation and the appropriateness of holding a discussion of any claim against the district in closed session. Tricia?
Yeah, sure. As you know, the Brown Act allows for a government agency to consult with its legal counsel about litigation and a client privilege communications relating to litigation. And that also includes not only existing litigation, but also anticipated litigation that may result either from facts that the government agency knows would cause them to initiate litigation, or facts that the district has or that a government agency has received that would make it think there is a credible threat of litigation. And that would include allegations, claims, complaints, things that have been said that would make the district think that there is the possibility of litigation. And it's and you can go into closed session to discuss those items as long as it's properly noticed on the agenda. So that is what happened at the last meeting. There were a number of claims, and not claims under the Tort Claims Act in that sense, but just allegations and complaints and things that are being said that raise the questions about litigation and not necessarily filed litigation. And the district is able to meet in closed session to discuss those claims and get advice from its legal counsel about those.
Thank you. So to clarify, a claim is a precursor to litigation, or could be.
That is correct. That's right.
Thank you. Now, to begin the agenda, we'll start with the consent calendar. We have 7 items on the consent calendar this evening, and any items pulled from consent will be heard after discussion items. Commissioner Lorenis, you wanted to pull which item?
Number 2, minutes regular meeting.
Good, I was going to pull that as well. And Commissioner Brennan, did you want to pull an item?
To explain to the public, the delay is I'm waiting for the unmute to show up on my screen. So sometimes there's a pause. Yes, as I already said, I'd like to pull items 1 and 4 off consent. And I also had a question for Tricia which I wasn't able to ask regarding her previous statement. So I'd like to be able to ask that question. And I think one of the problems with Zoom meetings is if you don't check in with the commissioners, you don't know if somebody has a legal question. So I guess I'll go ahead and ask that. So thank you for clarifying that a complaint about retaliation and sexual harassment is not the same thing as a lawsuit. And I want to make it really clear to everyone that I have not filed a lawsuit. I have never filed a lawsuit against the Harbor District. So there is no threat of litigation. Just wanted to say that. And then the other thing is, regarding Tricia's remarks, I wanted to point out that the district attorney's report regarding the cure and correct and some other changes that the district has had to make because of Brown Act complaints are published on the district's website under tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Tricia, if my understanding is correct about your clarification of claim versus litigation.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah,
is like
you
circular.
would not, if you filed litigation, then it would be a different closed session description, which would be pending litigation, and then you'd have actual litigation that you're discussing. But there's also anticipated litigation where there's just facts or circumstances that exist before a lawsuit's been filed. So there's
Right.
two different ways to talk with your legal counsel about litigation.
Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Lorenz, is your hand still up or up again?
No, it's not up.
Do you know how to put your hand down? There. All right, Commissioner Brennan, is your hand still up for a reason?
Yes, I just had a follow-up question to what Tricia just said. I just wanted to point out that sometimes when people make complaints about sexual harassment and retaliation, they're doing that because they want the behavior to stop, not because they want to file a lawsuit against the district. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Seems like we're going to be hearing this every meeting, whether it's on the agenda or not. All right, so we've got some items pulled here from the consent calendar, but we're going to start with our discussion. Oh, no, we need to approve the consent calendar absent items number 1, 2, and 4. So I have a motion to approve items 3, 5, 6, and 7.
I'll move to approve items 3, 5, 6, and 7 on the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Roll call, Lizzie, please. I'm sorry, Melanie.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Jane Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. And the rest of the consent items will go on after the discussion items. So we'll start with discussion item number 8. Catch Joanne Tennant Row ADA Restroom Design and Engineering Award. John Moran, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a staff report for a motion regarding the Pillar Point Harbor Retail Center ADA Restroom Project. At Pillar Point Harbor, the district leases out space to a long-term lessee who operates a restaurant bar known as Catch Joanne, which recently and currently has 2 small restrooms within it. The restrooms are too small to comply with ADA standards. It was determined, due to the restaurant seating capacity, 2 large ADA restrooms would be required. Because of this requirement and the very limited space within the restaurant, a restroom location outside of the restaurant should also be considered. Staff publicly advertised a request for proposal for design, which includes a requirement for public workshop meetings during which input from Pillar Point Harbor stakeholders, users, and the general public could be gathered. The services outlined in the RFP include all aspects of project architecture, design, engineering, public outreach, construction support, including an initial review and assessment of potential project design alternatives at a conceptual level, supporting the permitting process, preparation of 100% construction plans, and supporting the bid process, selecting a contractor to carry out the project. The robust public outreach will consist of workshops and updates at board meetings. The RFP closed on August 19th. 3 firms responded to the RFP, and in accordance with the RFP, the district's evaluation committee thoroughly reviewed the responses, checked references, and found the firm Sally Swanson Architects
What happened, John? We lost you. John froze.
President Reyring, it's most likely an internet connectivity issue.
reasonable for this project scope.
It's fine.
After a preliminary design is determined, vetted by public stakeholder input and county planning department, staff would bring 90% plans
President Reyring, I've messaged John Moran to let him know that there are some internet connectivity issues.
Great, thank you, Lizzie. Can you ask him maybe to read the summary and recommendations so that we can get moving?
Yes, of course.
Or I can read it. Well, John's disappeared, so I will read the summary recommendation is staff recommends the board authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Sally Swanson Architects for architectural design, engineering, permitting, and construction support for the Pillar Point Harbor Retail Center ADA restroom project for an amount not to exceed $118,000 with a 10% contingency in the event there is a need for change orders due to unforeseen challenges, and authorize the GM to issue change orders up to the contingency amount and approve increase in capital expenditure appropriations of $129,800 to be funded by available working capital.
I'll move to adopt that or to approve that.
Great. Commissioner Lorenz?
I'm not
is there-
seconding. I have a question for John.
Before we move ahead, do we have a second on this motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mateusz. Commissioner Lorenz, go ahead. I don't know if John's able to be part of the call anymore. He had internet connectivity problems.
Well, maybe Jim can answer it.
Back. Hi, John. I finished your agenda item for you. Sorry. All right. Commissioner Lorenz has a question for you, John.
Yes, sorry about that, commissioners. I'm not sure what happened.
It's all right.
That's internet. So John, my question is this. Can you tell me, first of all, what is District Evaluation Committee? Uh-oh, are you gone?
I can still hear you, Ed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question though.
Can you tell me what the District Evaluation Committee is?
Yes, that's the selection committee that was made up of myself, Director of Administrative Services, and our planner analyst, and in this instance, the harbor master.
Okay.
Commissioner Brennan, you have a question?
Yes, I'm going to ask that our general manager give a proper staff report because this project includes a significant amount of money, and I personally would like to hear the whole staff report that John dutifully tried to read. but wasn't able to. And then I think maybe we should direct our questions. My suggestion is that we direct our questions to the GM in the event that John does not have good internet access at the moment. And I do have questions, but I'd like to get the staff report first.
I think that's fine for Jim to answer, since John seems to be having connectivity problems, but we've heard the main part of the report, and I'm not interested in hearing it again. I've read the staff report, and I think the other commissioners have as well. Jim, your thoughts?
It's not just for the public, for the commission, it's also for the public. The public hasn't necessarily read it, and so we always read reports at our meetings, and I don't think we should stop doing that because of an internet problem. I think we have enough staff here to help the public understand the staff report. So I really like to strongly suggest that we hear the staff report that John worked hard on.
I think we have a disagreement about that, Sabrina, and since I'm leading the meeting, I'm going to ask Jim not to read the entire document. It is available on our website, and members of the public are welcome to go there and read it. We have heard the main part of it, and we've heard the suggested motion. So if you have a specific question for Mr. Pruitt, please ask it.
Jim, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. And also John, I believe, switched his internet provider. So
okay, well, whoever wants to answer, doesn't matter to me. So I have a number of questions. Do you want me to just go through all the questions or give you one and then wait?
You can ask one question at a time, if you would, Commissioner Brennan.
One question at a time. Okay, no problem. So I understand that this project could fluctuate in cost between $118,000 and roughly $130,000. What I noticed is that there weren't any attachments with the agenda for the other proposals. Normally on the staff report, we get the cost estimate or proposal cost on all proposals so that we at least know what the range was. Can you tell me I just want to know what the range was between the three different proposals that we received. So that's my first question.
Yeah, well, Commissioner Brennan, for a request for proposal for design architectural professional services, we do not actually open up the bid form for the other proposing firms. We look at only the and grade, if you will. Our committee looks at the understanding, project understanding, and the experience of the proposal, the firms that make proposals, and we evaluate based on their experience and understanding of the project. Then we open up that firm only cost form, and then determine whether or not their cost, their fee that they're proposing is in fact a reasonable fee. And in this instance, we determined it was a reasonable fee. So we cost for design engineering is not something that plays a big role in our choice of the design engineering architectural for a request for proposal for professional services.
So just so I understand, you don't know what the costs were from the other proposals, and is there a law that prevents you from looking at those costs in making a decision? I'm just trying to.
It's been our process for design engineering not to put our emphasis on the lowest bid.
Okay, so there's no legal reason why you can't look at all the bids. Is that correct?
It's in our request for proposal. It outlines the procedure that will take place, and we follow that procedure. The request for proposal template that we use for all of our design engineering request for proposals for professional services was put together in accordance with the public contract code by our legal team.
Okay, so this is a standard in the industry that you get proposals and then you only look at the cost of the one that you prefer?
Yes, unlike a invitation for bid, which is actual construction, there we are bound to go with the lowest qualified bid.
Okay. Interesting, because I know in the past, we have done it other ways previously. I recall, it seems like if you're bidding on something and you know that no one's going to look at the other bids that come in, if they like your project, you're not very incentivized to give a competitive bid. I just wonder about that, like as a business owner, looking at it from that perspective. Um, and I wondered why that information wasn't available. So, can we get those proposals? I think I might have seen them put online at the last minute, but I didn't take a close look. Jim, that's kind of a question for you.
It's been our past practice that we post or include, and it's included in the agenda item, the winning proposal is attached. What we added to the agenda today at the request of Commissioner Lorenz was the actual RFP seeking these proposals. We normally do not publish the proposals of firms we do not select.
Okay, so if a commissioner wanted to look at the other proposals, they would need to request that, or what's the process? Because it's a public document, right? I'm just trying to understand what's possible.
I would think so, but I would bounce that off of general counsel on.
Tricia, can you answer that? Is it a public document? Can we review the proposals? I like to review proposals because sometimes you learn things from reading them.
Yeah. If we could just follow up with you offline, we need to look, as John Moran mentioned, we need to stick to the procedures in the request for a proposal. And so there's a bunch of moving parts here. So we can follow up with you about whether or not you can review it after the meeting.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if the whole board understood more about that process, because I, for one, would really like to read proposals that come in, because I do learn a lot from looking at people's proposals. So that would be helpful. I know we have been able to do that in the past, so I'm just wondering about that. Okay, my next question is, who served on the committee that, I just want to understand process a little bit. Who served on the committee that reviewed the one proposal that the district staff decided on?
We did a comparative analysis, an in-depth comparative analysis, also checked references, and in this instance, unanimously graded Sally Swanson Architects the highest rated, to best meet the district's needs for this particular project. And that committee that made a recommendation to the general manager, who also reviewed all of the proposals. That recommendation was made by myself, Director of Administrative Services, Planner Analyst, and the Harbor Master at Pillar Point Harbor.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. That helps. And let me see if I have any other questions. I think my main concern is, well, first of all, I'm familiar with this firm, and it's my understanding that they do good work and that they are very experienced in working on ADA projects. And we definitely want to make sure that every ADA aspect of this project is extremely well thought out, because this project is happening because of a lawsuit against the district regarding improper ADA access. So I'm familiar with the firm from other work, and I think it sounds like staff made a really good decision, although obviously I don't know who the other firms were at this time, and I would like to know. So if you guys can provide that information, that'd be helpful.
Commissioner Brennan, you've gone on.
I'm almost done.
12 minutes, and I'm going to set the timer. Lizzie, or I'm not sure if Lizzie or Melanie is handling the timer tonight, but I would like commissioner comments or questions to be timed again, because it's kind of bypassing our Zoom protocol to go on this long. Commissioner Lorenz, do you have a question?
Do. Excuse me, Commissioner Brennan asked the question I was going to ask. So thank you for that, Commissioner Brennan. I'm also interested in seeing the other proposal or proposals, because again, it is useful to review them. You really do learn something. Sometimes you find questions that you don't think of. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Commissioners Matoush and Crawley for working on this and resolving the legal issues and allowing us to move forward. We have a motion and a second on the table, and Melanie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I am concerned about our process. I'm not happy with the process on this. So I just want to voice that, and I'll talk to Jim about that offline. But I do support improving ADA access at Pillar Point Harbor, and I think that this is important. So I'm voting yes.
Is that everybody, Melanie? Yeah. So this thank you. So this motion carries. We'll move on to item number 9, changing the day and time for Harbor Commission meetings. Adopt Resolution 2013, superseding Resolution 2007 and 1901, establishing that the regular meetings of the Harbor Commission will be held on the third Wednesday of each month, and except for meetings in the month, well, the rest of it is irrelevant right now during COVID. So to finish the agenda item, each meeting shall begin at 1 p.m. and terminate no later than 4 p.m. unless so directed by the commission. Do I have a motion, Commissioner Chang Crawley?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll move to discussion. I see in the participant list, I see Kay Williams.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So Commissioner Ryring, I actually want to speak in favor of not changing the time, because for the public to attend these meetings, it needs to be at a time when they are not in the workplace. And the time that you have chosen directly conflicts with many working schedules, and this would prevent many people from attending these meetings. And my understanding is that these should be accessible to the public and easily accessible to the public. I voted for you as my representative on this commission, and I expect that you would represent the public and provide access for us. So I also don't understand why you took the action before you asked for the discussion and comment. So if you could answer that question, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Dave Olson.
I want to request that the commission do not change the time of the meetings for very similar reasons to Ms. Williams. This is a meeting that is often heavily attended, and if it is during the day when people are working, even during COVID, people have set schedules, and people will not be able to attend this meeting who might otherwise attend it. And this is a very important meeting. So I very strongly request that this meeting not be moved before 6:30 in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenz.
First, I suggest that Commissioner Ryring, you answer the questions the public ask you. I think Ms. Williams asked you the question of why we are discussing this on the agenda. I'm also curious to know why. Could you answer that, please?
Commissioner Lorenz, I will speak just to you, but as you are well aware, it is not a conversation when members of the public give us their comments. We do not have conversations with them. We never have, and it's not the correct protocol.
Okay, well, you can answer the question I just asked you.
Which was?
Why do we have this on the agenda? What is the purpose of moving this meeting to 1 o'clock?
I've had numerous comments by members of the public who are not able to attend in the evenings. And in fact, we've had very good attendance when we have held our meetings at other times during the day. And so especially during COVID, when people are tired of being on Zoom calls at the end of the day and they want to be at home with their family, I put this agenda item on because I think it would be worth trying out.
Okay, well, I strongly object to this, as you heard from 2 members of the public. I've also heard from many members of the public that they believe that it will be impossible to attend this meeting if it is held at 1 o'clock. As has been pointed out, folks work, and when they're working, they can't join in on these meetings. In fact, having this meeting at 1 o'clock will put us in a category all by ourselves. The City Council of Half Moon Bay has their regular meeting in the evening. City of Pacifica have their regular meetings in the evening. All our special districts here have their meetings in the evenings. I don't think we want to be in that category.
So I'm going to ask Tricia to weigh in again. Numerous other public agencies have their meetings during the day. And also in 2019, during the tenure of Commissioner Brennan as president and Commissioner Lorenz as vice president, there were 11 meetings held during the day between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. This year, we've held several special meetings, typically in the early afternoon, and attendance at those meetings has been very good. So I'll just reiterate that I believe it's worth a try. Tricia, do you have something to add?
Oh, I'll just confirm your understanding that a government agency is able to hold their meetings during the day. There's no requirement that it be at night, and that I am familiar with a number of government agencies that do hold their regular meetings during the day.
Thank you. John Olam, I see your hand up.
Thank you for letting me speak to this item. I'm just wondering exactly who it is, for whose benefit is this being changed to 1 p.m. I would remind Commissioner Corrali that the last meeting that was held in South San Francisco was at her behest, and it was meant to, and it was really cute to highlight the efforts of a bunch of kids that were part of a dragon boat racing society or club or something like that, and their parents were out there, and they gave a really good presentation. I don't really see how those kids could have attended a 1 to 4 meeting. So that would be my first comment on having it at that time of the day. And I would like you to explain, for whose benefit is this being done? Do you have some sort of, for example, Ms. Raring has stated that she's heard from people that they would like to change it. Well, that's great, but I mean, there's no evidence of that. I'm willing to bet if I file a PRA request and ask for those emails, there won't be any. And of course, you can expect that I will. But I'm just, again, wondering if you would explain to people exactly what it is, the purposes of changing this meeting to 1 to 4. I support having a meeting in South San Francisco a few times a year. I think that's great. I think that would be useful so we could allow people of South San Francisco know that members on this board who are running for reelection conspired with the city manager of South San Francisco to foist expenses onto the taxpayers of South San Francisco that were originally the obligation of a very well-heeled multi-billion-dollar developer. And they, of course, did this all under the table. They even undercut their own general manager at the time, who was trying to get the developer to enforce its agreement. So having it in South San Francisco is great, but there is no compelling reason that anybody has stated why you would move all of the meetings to 1 to 4. Thank you.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to see that you've done your homework. However, you seem to be following this path of misrepresenting the information. The numbers you quoted were correct, but the implication was that they were all board meetings related to the regular meeting, which actually they weren't. Most of those were committee meetings, and we never had a regular meeting, as you implied, at 1 o'clock.
Commissioner Matoush.
I, for one, would like to give it a try. I know the Board of Supervisors meets during the middle of the day, and it's a well-attended meeting. Gives the public plenty of opportunity downtown, where parking is far more of a problem. We're going to be Zooming for quite some time. I don't think we'll be having personal meetings possibly till maybe after the first quarter. So I think it's a worthwhile project to try and see what our participation is like. So I'm going to vote in favor of trying this new program out. I think it's going to be easier on some of the staff as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Brennan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, where to start on this? This is really hearkening back to the old days of no videotaped meetings, every possible trick in the book to try to squelch public participation. District by angry members, you know, it just doesn't reflect well on the district to make meetings so challenging for the public to attend. And I can't think of any reason we would do that. And I'm racking my brain trying to think of a city in San Mateo County that has their meeting midday. I can't think of one. City councils in the evenings that the public can attend, and special thing. I noticed in the staff report that there is no example of any agency at all that hold their, do know the Board of Supervisors holds their meetings at 9 a.m., but a chair not having illusions of grandeur, saying that
President Raring, it appears as though Commissioner Brennan has been dropped from the meeting due to some connectivity issues.
All right. Well, we've heard discussion on both sides of this issue, and I think we're ready for a roll call. Commissioner Lorenz, do you have something to add that you haven't already said?
Yes, I do.
Well, go for
First
it.
of all, we did not hear Sabrina Brennan. We heard bits and pieces. So moving on is unfair to her. I see the timer. So I would like to hear what Brennan had to say. I know that some of you may not be interested in that, but I am, so please let her speak.
Commissioner Brennan, do you want to finish your comment?
Commissioner Brennan, I've sent you a request to unmute.
I just got it. Thank you. Can you let me know, Lizzie? Send me a message or something if you're not able to hear me. I'm not sure how the sound quality is right now.
The sound quality appears okay right now.
Okay, good. So I don't know what you heard, but I did talk a little bit about the history of the district, past grand jury investigations, LAFCO letters, criticism by the public, criticism by other agencies. A lot of that stems from a lack of transparency and a lack of public outreach and a lack of listening to the public. And I think we all need to remember that we're here to serve the public. The agency that we serve, the Harbor District, is a public agency, and we need to make sure that the public has access to our meetings. And that means that our meetings need to be held at a time of day when the public is not busy at work or attending school. It's very simple. There aren't any other agencies other than the Board of Supervisors in our county that I'm aware of that has their regular board meetings at 1 p.m. or any time other than evenings. And the reason everybody has their meetings in the evenings is so that the public can attend. And that means families, children, anybody that wants to attend is able to attend. So I'm strongly opposed to changing our meetings to 1 p.m. Very disappointed with the board. I think this is really shocking and not respectful of the public. And I think that you should all be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Commissioners Brennan and Lorenz, you are entitled to your opinions, but both of you continue to try to denigrate the board and majority decisions by the board, and that is what is disrespectful. Please keep your comments to your opinions. And I think we have one more comment here, Michelle Dragony.
Hello. I was looking at the chart that was in the report, and it's pretty 50-50 between doing it during the day or doing it in the evening. And, you know, my concern is I want people to be involved just as you do. But I think that the fishermen, even if they're the charters and stuff like that, they, you know, they come back in like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they wouldn't be able to participate during the day. The reference to the supervisors doing it during the day is that most of the, well, first of all, they're paid quite a bit of money, like a regular salary. So they are generally interacting with a lot of other staff from other public agencies, which is why they do it during the day. But there are no city council or planning meetings, or GCSD, Montera, SAM, all of them are in the evening. Having said that, people can always participate by watching, you know, the Pacific Coast TV video later, and they certainly can always email in a comment for a general comment. But I just thought I'd say what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn Korth, I see your hand raised.
Hi. Yes, I agree. I think we need to have the community involved in our harbor and the decisions that we make. And holding a meeting midday is not conducive to that. We need to have it at a time when people can listen in and at least be aware, even if they don't have a comment, to be aware of what's happening in their harbor. And by holding a meeting midday, that's not conducive to anybody that works a regular job, whether they're working from home or whether they're going to an office. It's not conducive right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Brennan.
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to point out that commissioners are not paid a salary that is a living wage. They're not even paid minimum wage. So it's really important for some of our retired commissioners or commissioners that maybe work for fun to understand that other commissioners do have to earn a living to pay a mortgage, and they cannot necessarily take off midday for several hours during the work week. Many people do actually have to earn a living, and they don't have the luxury of being essentially retired. So I think, we need to think ahead. We don't know who's going to get elected on November 3rd, but we do know that 2 people will get elected, and it's possible that those people have day jobs and earn a living and pay mortgages, and to require that they lose income to attend a midday meeting because it's more convenient for maybe the current chair's tennis schedule or whatever. It's just, it's selfish, and it's not considering the public, and it's not considering allowing working people to serve on a public agency board. So again, I want to just reiterate that I can't think of any city councils in our county or special districts that have midday regular board meetings. And I don't think that the Harbor Commission should be doing that either. I think it's a very bad idea. It sets a poor precedent. And frankly, it's embarrassing. And I can't believe that we would even consider such a terrible decision.
Commissioner Matoush.
I just wanted to point out that I do have the Zoom app installed on my cell phone, and I have done Zoom meetings while I was on the boat.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Lorenz.
Yes, first I'd like to thank members of the public that were speaking. You made some very good points. I'd also like to add that just because a member of the public goes to a meeting, and if we have them at 1 o'clock, because they make an appearance at a 1 o'clock meeting, does not mean that it's necessarily easy for them. They may have to take time off from work. If the subject at hand is very important to them, they would do it. When I was working, I spent a lot of time at Board of Supervisors meetings, and that was at my expense, taking time from work. So it is an inconvenience to do these meetings during the day when most people are working. And I think it's the height of entitlement to do that to people, to force them to take their working time off to go to a meeting where something very important to them is being held. And I find that this item is outrageous. And one more thing, Commissioner Reiering, please keep your editorial comments to yourself. It's conduct unbecoming from someone who has control of the microphone.
Melanie, I think we are ready for a roll call on this item.
Commissioner Reiering?
Aye.
Commissioner Chin-Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
No.
Commissioner Brennan?
Melanie, I have a question. We had a practice of rotating the calling of commissioners for voting. It seems like that hasn't been happening. So if we could go back to that. But to answer your question, I'm definitely voting a hard no, full stop. Thank you.
Is that everyone, Melanie?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries, and we're going to move on to item number 10, designation of contract negotiators, to designate negotiators to negotiate an employment contract with James B. Pruitt to serve as general manager. Because we're up against time and because we have an evaluation process we've used in the past, I'd like to designate the HR committee to be the negotiating team to set up to negotiate this. Commissioner Chin-Crowley.
Yes, I'll make a motion to designate the HR committee to move forward with negotiations with the general manager for his contract.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. No discussion. Melanie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan,
I did have a question, so I'd like to ask that question now. And I do think we should give the board a chance for discussion. So I'm asking that a process for the committee be brought back to the board so that we understand what the committee is going to be doing, what the process is for considering this, so on and so forth. It shouldn't be mysterious. And is this a standing committee, an ad hoc committee? What kind of committee is it? Just get some clarification on the process for the committee. So that's a question for the chair.
The committee is our standing HR committee. And we have this evaluation process. We've gone through it in the past, and we actually have a protocol for this, and we will be using that.
Can you please provide the board with the protocol so we know what the protocol is?
Yes, we will be.
All right, thank you.
President Ryring, I just wanted to clarify whether you're appointing negotiators, and those negotiators are going to be the two people who serve on the committee, and you're not appointing the actual committee, the standing committee, to be the negotiator. I think the process would be different. So you can have an ad hoc committee, or you can have two commissioners serve as the negotiators, and those are the two people who serve on that committee.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Tricia. All right. So Melanie, roll call.
I have a question.
We're in the middle of a roll call, actually.
I have a question for Tricia based on what she just said. I have a clarifying question I'd like to ask her.
Go ahead.
Hi, Tricia. So I think I understand what you said, but I don't totally understand what you said. So can you please explain to me the process here? Is this an ad hoc, a standing, and is it coming back to the board?
I think it's best just to describe what's being done. And I wanted to clarify that for the motion. And as I understand it, the motion is to appoint or to name two negotiators on behalf of the board. And those two negotiators are going to be the current members of the standing committee on the HR committee.
Okay, so currently,
and I don't know for sure. I can't say off the top of my head if the HR committee is a standing committee, but the two members of the HR committee are the two people being appointed.
So currently, there isn't anybody on the HR committee. This is a new appointment. I'm just confused.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The HR committee is, if I remember correctly, a few months ago, I would say maybe 2 months ago, was approved by the board to be a new standing committee. And the people on that committee are the president and the vice president. So it is a standing committee with two committee members that was approved, I would say about 2, maybe 3 months ago.
If I may, President Ryring.
Yes, please go ahead.
To help, Tricia, please correct me if I'm wrong. Tricia was talking about the process of having it at the ad hoc or at the standing committee level. The contract negotiations would be required to take place at the standing committee versus contract negotiations between myself and two appointed board members on behalf of the board. Once the two appointed board members and I come to an agreement, then that would be then brought back to the board for final vote.
Correct.
Thank you, Jim.
So it would be an ad hoc committee to discuss my contract in the future.
Okay, that helps because it didn't make any sense before. So thank you for clarifying that it's an ad hoc committee, which means that it's not a committee meeting that's open to the public. So there's a big difference between an ad hoc and a standing committee. So it's really important to get clear on that. And just so I understand, because previously our process has been different, is the recommendation of the committee coming back to the board in closed session, or how is it coming? How is the recommendation of the committee, whatever it is, going to be relayed to the board, and how is the board going to be involved in the conversation?
President Ryring, if I may again.
Yes, please, Jim, go ahead.
My recommendation to the board would be for the ad hoc committee to then meet in closed session with the board to discuss it. And then once the in closed session's over, then it has to be voted on in public at a public meeting. So yes, it'll be coming back to the board.
Commissioner Brennan, do you still have your hand up?
Thank you for that, Jim. I couldn't respond and thank you quicker because I was muted. No, that's answered my questions, and I appreciate the clarity. Details matter. Thank you.
Melanie, can you go ahead with roll call, please?
I'm going to start over again. Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crowley?
Aye.
The motion carries. We're moving now to pulled agenda items. Item number 1, bills and claims, was pulled by Commissioner Brennan. Commissioner Brennan?
Unmuting. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we were on a trajectory to reduce our legal fees. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's continuing. And I bring this up with item 1, where there is a spreadsheet. If one looks very carefully, they will find it, of all of our legal fees for the past several years. And unfortunately, it looks like we are racking up considerable legal fees. Some are related to the lawsuits, I guess multiple lawsuits against the district and all 5 commissioners related to concerns that our fish buyers have. So we're being sued by 2 of our fish buyers, and it looks like we're up to almost $100,000 related to that situation. And so I just wanted to point out that I believe that the district has made some poor legal decisions, and it's costing the taxpayers. So I hope the public will pay attention to it. Thank you.
I'll just say that the attorney that we're using for the fish buyers conflict is an attorney that was handpicked by Commissioners Brennan and Lorenz without the authorization of the full board. And that attorney continues to work on our behalf. And yes, it is an expensive and involved problem. And so I really don't get your point. Commissioner Brennan, you have your hand, or Commissioner Chang Crowley.
So I'd like to finish.
I would like, I've got the floor. I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 1, this consent calendar, or that's bills and claims.
So I think it's only fair that I'm able to respond.
I've made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to finish what I was going to say in response to Commissioner Raring's comments. I think it's important to note that the problem is not with the council. It's not the attorney that's costing the district so much. It's the commissioners. So it's very important to note that poor decisions by the board are what is racking up these legal fees. We are not working in a unified way with the commercial fishermen. And that is costing the district, and it's causing a lot of strife and unhappiness on the part of our local commercial fishing industry. Thank you.
I'm not even going to respond to that. Commissioner Chan-Corrali. No, with your hand up.
Oh, I just made a motion.
You did. Okay. Jim Pruitt, did you have your hand up? No? Commissioner Lorenz. What's happening? I don't hear anybody. I don't see any hands up. Are we, Melanie, are we ready for a roll call? I'm not sure what's going on. I see the timer, but it's kind of frozen. Are we ready for roll call? Melanie, roll call, please.
I think Commissioner Lorenz was trying to say something.
He is. Can you hear me?
Now we can. You weren't muted.
Yes, I was. I was talking. No one heard me. So that's a statement of fact. So I hate to complain about this, but Nancy Ryring, you need to stop making editorial comments. It's conduct unbecoming of a commissioner. So please stop with it.
Melanie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lorenz? Commissioner Lorenz, I can't hear you. I don't think you're muted, though. It doesn't say you are.
Can you repeat the motion?
Oh, okay. It was to approve item
Bills and
number 1,
claims.
bills and claims.
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
Commissioner Chan-Corrali?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
The motion carries. We will move on to item number 2. Commissioner Lorenz, you and I both pulled this item. Do you want to make your comments?
Yes, please. I've noticed that in our meeting minutes, the public comments are no longer being, all it says in our minutes is the public made a comment. In the past, we had the public comments on the minutes. So is this something that's an oversight, or are we just going to continue to not put public comments on our minutes? Anyone there?
Ed, I'll address your question.
Okay, thanks.
The minutes follow the bare minimum as required by Robert's rules. I will amend those minutes, or will direct the amendments to the amendments as directed by the board. But right now, they follow the bare minimums of Robert's rules.
Commissioner Brennan?
Hi, Jim, it's a question for you. So I know that in the past, we did at least state whether somebody was in support or opposed to an agenda item. And I think that the public appreciated that because they felt like their voices mattered and it was worthwhile to show up because they would be captured in the minutes along with the board members. I do think it's important that we all remember who we serve here, and that's the public. So if you were looking at a pyramid and who's important, the public would be at the very top of the pyramid. Under the public would be the 5 board members, and under the 5 board members would be the general manager and council. And, you know, I can only speak from my perspective on this, but I am very uncomfortable with the fact that we have eliminated the public's point of view from our minutes. So I personally would feel more comfortable if we did include at least a support or oppose for public comment, and how many people supported, how many people were opposed, and if they give their name, then I think we should give that respect to the public and include their name as well. And that was how we were doing our minutes previously. I do understand that there isn't always enough time in the day to include a documentation of what each public member said, and we do have the video for that. But I think at least including whether they supported or opposed an item is respectful, and that's something that other agencies do. Thank you.
I'll just say that I disagree entirely with Commissioner Brennan's comments, that the way we're doing the minutes now is more than sufficient. And we are the individuals who vote. We were elected to vote on the matters before us, and that is what is reflected in our meeting minutes. Commissioner Chan-Crawley?
Yeah, I agree with regard to whom we serve. I think we all agree on that. But I just want to first of all, thank the people who come to our meetings. We definitely appreciate the participation of the public, but I also want to remind everyone that there are many people who are part of the public who don't necessarily participate. And I agree with President Reiering that, we were elected to serve everyone, not just the people who are here. Again, we thank everyone for participating, and I'm just very glad that we have the public members who are not necessarily here. They have faith in what we're doing. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas pulled this item to make some general comments, and I also wanted to pull this item for a specific comment. The minutes as presented state that Commissioner Lorenas was recused. However, Commissioner Lorenas did not recuse himself from the closed session, and in fact, he stated distinctly that he was not recusing himself and that he had no conflict of interest. Instead, he simply refused to participate, and I would like the minutes to reflect that. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes with that amendment? Commissioner Chan-Crawley?
I'll make that motion. I think that's a more accurate accounting of what happened. And actually, to me, if you really want to serve the public, then your minutes have to be as accurate as possible. So thank you for catching that. So I'll make the motion to amend the minutes to reflect that.
Make it a second.
Thank you. Commissioner Brennan?
Yeah, so I would, my recollection was that Commissioner Lorenas did decide not to attend that closed session, and I think he had some pretty strong words about it. But I think instead of putting words in his mouth, it would be best to hear him, and I'm asking Commissioner Lorenas if we could hear from you on what is an accurate reflection that should be included in the minutes, because my memory is a little bit foggy on it. We have a video, so it's easy to fix. And I agree that the minutes should be accurate. Could you refresh our memory, or maybe you don't even remember? It's been a month since that last meeting.
I actually transcribed his comments, and he said, and I quote, "Yes, I'm not going to join this. This is a protest for the way this is being done. I will not be a part of this. I am not recusing myself. I have no conflict of interest, but I don't want to be any part of this," unquote. And if Commissioner Lorenas would like Melanie to verify that before we vote to change this, that's fine with me. I did listen to it. That's what it says.
I have a question.
Commissioner Raleigh, you have your hand up.
I'm not going to make an amendment to my motion, and there is a current motion on the table and a second to approve the amended minutes that you have, that you amended, Nancy.
All right.
So if we want to entertain another motion, we can do it after this motion is voted on.
Commissioner Brennan, you have a question?
Yeah, so thank you for transcribing what was said. That was super helpful. And so I'm confused about what we're doing here. Are we adding that transcription to the minutes? Because it seems like that might be the best thing to do.
My motion is that the minutes reflect that he refused to participate. And that's
I don't think that's accurate. I think he did participate. His comments are a form of participation. So I don't agree that he didn't participate. I don't think that's accurate at all.
Well, you don't need to vote for the motion then, Commissioner Lorenzo.
I won't vote for that. But I would totally support a transcription of what he said. I think that would be appropriate, and I would vote for a transcription.
Lorenz?
So it seems to me you can't have it both ways. You can't have an inaccurate summary of what happened. And I suggest that you take that transcript and add it to the minutes. That will reflect exactly what happened, not your editorial summary. So if you want to be transparent and have our minutes be accurate, then that's what you should do, not provide a summary.
Commissioner, or Tricia, I want to ask you, would it be incorrect in any way to state in the minutes that he refused to participate in the closed session?
The minutes are the board's minutes, and they are to reflect what the board wants them to, what the board thinks is an accurate reflection of what happened. And so, I think it's really up to the board through your motion and your approval to establish what the minutes say.
Thank you. So we have that motion on the table. Commissioner Chen-Crowley?
I believe that they are accurate, and that's why I'm making my motion, and I've made the motion, and I'd like to call for the question.
All right, Melanie, can you do roll call for calling the question, please?
Commissioner Brennan?
I'm not going to vote for this because I still have a question, and I don't want to be cut off by Commissioner Chen-Crowley. She has a habit of trying to cut off discussion, and I don't support that. So,
well,
no.
Thank you for your opinion. I've made a motion to call for the question, and I'm not cutting people off.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
Commissioner Chen-Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Absolutely not.
Great. So Melanie, can you do roll call now, please, for the motion?
Commissioner Chen-Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Absolutely not.
Commissioner Brennan?
I support including an accurate transcription. So because this change to the minutes will not include an accurate transcription, but instead include someone's editorial comments, my vote is no. Thank you.
I think that was everyone.
Is that everyone? Great. The motion carries. Thank you, Melanie. Item number 4 was pulled by Commissioner Brennan.
Yeah, it would be great if John, or if John can't get online, then maybe Jim would give us a report. We have public members who need to know about projects, and also we have candidates running for a seat, or actually 2 seats on the Harbor Commission So it would be really great if John Moran, our Director of Operations, could help educate the public and candidates about projects that are in the works at our facilities. Thank you.
Yes, commissioners. I'm sorry, my internet connection was not stable before. I did go to a third alternative that seems to be working now throughout the rest of the meeting. I'd be glad to answer any specific questions regarding the capital improvement project update, or I can just go straight down where we're at with every project that we've got going on. I will say right now that we do have, it's a newer development where we do have scheduled on October 5th a public meeting regarding the RV parking lot restroom, which we hope to get some good public input from.
What do you, that's really awesome, John, and very exciting. Can you tell us what time that meeting is going to be?
It's got it scheduled for 5:30 p.m.
Great. I'm glad it's going to be in the evening when people are not at work. So that'll be a Zoom meeting that people can call into to learn about the project and give input. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay, that's really exciting news. Thank you. Do you have any other updates? Like I know we've got various projects out for RFP. I don't know if you can comment on that.
Yes, we've got the Oyster Point Marina Docks 12 with an option for Docks 12, 13, and 14 East Dock replacement project. And those bids will be opened October 1st. So that our RFP is in progress, as is our master plan. Again, we've got a lot of interest in all of our projects, all of our RFPs that we've got out right now. And the master plan will also, the proposals will be due October 1st. And we've got our Oyster Point Marina Navigational Aid Replacement Project RFP proposals due October 15th.
That's great. Can you give us an update on, are we still in a holding pattern on completing the Pillar Point Harbor Master's office, or how's that coming along?
Yes, the Harbor Master's office has been completed.
Oh, that's great. So has everybody been able to move back in, or do we still have temporary buildings?
Yes, our Harbor Master's office has been reestablished. We still do have our Harbor Master's offices at both facilities, Oyster Point Marina and Pillar Point Harbor, closed to the public due to the COVID challenges, but we're making do and still meeting all of our tenants' needs and the public's needs. We're just not opening up yet the offices because of the confined areas. But yes, the Pillar Point Harbor office has been totally renovated and is now completely ADA compliant. And we're excited that we're all back in, and we're just still finishing up with some connectivity challenges that are outside the scope of the project. And we're also finishing up the project regarding our electronic access control, our new access control system.
Great. Is there any update about the fuel system at Oyster Point Marina?
The city of South San Francisco is moving forward with removal of the 2 underground storage tanks, fuel tanks, that were single walled, and they were required to be removed or replaced with double walled. The city of South San Francisco elected to just remove them at this time, and then they'll have to mitigate any contaminated soils surrounding the fuel system as well. And they're underway there.
Thank you. I appreciate all that info.
Do I have a motion to approve agenda item number 4?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Melanie, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who seconded it? Commissioner Lorenz? Is that
Yeah.
you? Oh, okay. Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley.
Aye.
The motion carries. Commissioner comments. Commissioners may make public statements limited to 2 minutes. Are any commissioners interested in making a statement this evening?
I have a quick comment. I just want to thank the staff for doing the job that they're doing and the just in their ability to continue to move forward, especially during this time of COVID, but also, with the fires and everything. I know that when we voted to open up the public parking lot for evacuees, the staff was totally prepared to take in the evacuees, and I've heard from public members that they were very appreciative of that, Jim. So if you could tell the staff that the public was very appreciative, that would be great. And I think that people were just happy to know that the Harbor District was supportive. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Brennan.
Yes, I would like to remind the board, and particularly Commissioner Chang Crawley, that at our last meeting, there was a promise made to our staff that at this meeting, the board would reconsider the amount of money that we approved at our August meeting to compensate our staff for the additional workload and the stress and everything that they're going through, and the risk especially that they're taking showing up for work every day during this pandemic, and also with this terrible air quality that we have. Most of our employees work outdoors and they are exposed to all kinds of things. So I think that we shouldn't forget that there was what I thought was a promise made by Commissioner Chang Crawley to bring back the agenda item and consider an additional increase or bonus, I should say, in COVID pay, or I'll call it a COVID bonus. The board approved $2,000. We know how expensive it is in the Bay Area. And I thought that amount, based on what our employees had to say at the meeting, was not nearly enough. And I do think we need to reconsider that item ASAP. And I'm very disappointed that it did not make it onto the agenda at this meeting.
I'll just say that you're mischaracterizing what was said at the last meeting.
My 2 minutes are not up, and I'm not having a discussion with you. This is commissioner comments. So you can speak your comment. This is my 2 minutes. And so I'm not going to have a debate with you and listen to editorializing.
So I will make my comment, which is that Commissioner Brennan was mischaracterizing what Commissioner Chang Crawley said at our last meeting. She said that she would like to look at it again in the future after she looked at our finances. And that's quite different than saying she would bring it back at this meeting. Commissioner Chang Crawley, you had your hand up for a minute. Did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, no, so that is exactly right, President Ryring. I did say that after we've had a chance to look at the finances. And I actually think that it's unfortunate that Commissioner Brennan, who was not originally for this, even though the public comments she's made supports it, and I appreciate that, that, I'm being mischaracterized, and it may be for political purposes, but I, as a person on the Finance Committee, believe that finances are the utmost important, the single most important thing that we do as an elected board, which pretty much means that we are fiduciaries of the tax dollars. And I believe that our hardworking employees also understand that. And since we haven't had a Finance Committee meeting since the last time we discussed it, I'm not ready to bring this up for an agenda item or as an agenda item for this meeting. So thank you, President Reiering, for setting the record straight instead of having my words once again be bent, or having the truth be bent by Commissioner Brennan.
President Reiering, I believe you're muted.
Thank you. I have a commissioner comment as well. In our last meeting, Commissioner Lorenz made a reference to what he said was bad behavior. That's a quote, bad behavior, end quote, during closed session. That is not a true or accurate representation of closed session board behavior, and I feel the need to set the record straight. The behavior I have observed in closed session has always been respectful, professional, and commissioners abide by the Brown Act. Commissioner Chen Crawley.
No, I don't think everyone's finished making comments, so I was gonna make a motion to adjourn, but I think Commissioner Lorenz and Mateusz have not made a comment, so I'm not gonna make that motion. Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay. Commissioner Brennan, do you have further comments this evening?
Since you're allowing other commissioners to speak more than once, and that's not typically the standard process here for commissioner comments, thank you for allowing me the same opportunity. I'd like to be clear that I did not bend the truth. I recall what happened at our last meeting very clearly, and I know exactly what was said. And also, I consistently supported doubling the COVID bonus at our last meeting. That was a consistent communication for me. I never veered from that. And so I do not want to be misrepresented by somebody who's trying to cover their tracks because now she's running for re-election. So let's be clear about what happened. I supported doubling that bonus. And unfortunately, it was a 2-3 vote. Actually, it was a 5 vote. It was a unanimous vote, but I clearly communicated that I thought we needed to double the amount, but I didn't want to vote against it because I didn't want to penalize our staff and not have them get a bonus at all. So, of course, I supported doubling the bonus, and I think we need to bring that back ASAP, especially in light of the air quality. Not only is our staff out there risking their lives, working with the public, potentially exposing themselves to a deadly disease, but they're also breathing toxic air. You know, some of you guys can sit in your houses with your air purifiers and feel safe, but our staff is out there on the front lines, boots on the ground, and they are breathing the air and they are taking risks. And I think it's not too much to ask, but to double the bonus that we gave them, we gave them $2,000. That's like nothing. To give them a $4,000 bonus is something that the district can afford, and they've earned it. Thank you.
Commissioner Mateusz, did you have your hand up to make a comment?
Mine aren't quite as colorful as some of these others. Unfortunately, we're not seeing salmon fishing. Our commercial salmon fishermen are having to travel great distances. The charter boat fleet barely can, we're basically not doing salmon because there aren't any around here. You have to run up 2.5, 3 hours. Everybody's glad to see the type of air we had today. Started last night, and I'm sure glad everybody gets to breathe better air at this point. I know I worked out of Bodega for a week, and we had terrible air quality up there that affected myself, the crew, and the science collection people that I work with. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Any future agenda items? I don't see any hands raised. August activity reports, information only. Commissioner Chang Crawley. Commissioner
I'd
Chang,
like to make a motion to adjourn.
okay, I'll second that. Melanie, roll call.
Commissioner Raring,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Aye.
Thanks very much, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good night.